Namaste and welcome to Luggage Gurukul. And today we are discussing a subject which is kind of a little taboo. A lot of us have a lot of questions, but we do not know whom to ask. So today we have just the right person with us. We have Dr. Rizwana with us, and thank you so much, Dr. Rizwana, for joining us in over here.
Good evening, namaste. Thank you for having me on this platform. I love to share about my experience of substance abuse and my work in that area.
We're fortunate to actually have you around. Just to tell our audience over here, Dr. Rizwana is a counselor and a psychotherapist, and she currently runs a private practice at Krizalyz Counseling. And nobody could be better than her to answer our questions because she works with families, she works with adolescents, and she works on addiction, the subject that we're talking about. And today we are all here as parents and we want to understand. So thank you so much for coming in here. And I will not add to all the lovely things that you have done in your life, because I'm sure when people get to hear from you, they would just get an idea about how deep your experience in this area has been. So my first question to you would be that what is that one way that we can actually as parents figure out that our child might be indulging in something like substance abuse, and help us understand when we say substance means what, because to unknowing parents, for us everything is just drugs. So like, what is substance? Can alcohol also be substance? Tell us about that first.
Okay. So, what I was thinking is before I get into really
Talking about
starting with, I thought let me just speak a little bit about what is the kind of prevalence and what are the problems.
Sure. I think that'll be a great place to set the base out over there.
Yeah. So, okay. Or do you want to do it interactive? I'm good with both. I have thought of some things which I thought need to go, but if
sure, yes, and you will allow me to interject you if in case.
Sure.
I think that people would have questions. Please go ahead. Sure.
So I think because when people say substance abuse, we become very wary, because at some point in our life, all of us have experimented with alcohol, with something. But in today's kind of session, which is going to be for an hour, but I'll be speaking for a bit, is that how do we understand that if we have a problem, right? Because what we need to identify is this impacting our life? Is this impacting our quality of life? So when you ask me about what is substance abuse, when we look at addiction, or so there are different terms people use. One is substance abuse, one is addiction, one is, drug abuse, alcoholism. These are just some of the terms. You go to a doctor, they use chemical dependency. So there are multiple, all of them mean the same thing.
Okay.
That this particular person seems to be having a problem with maybe one of the substances or more substances. So really when people come to us, I'm not really looking whether you have an alcohol problem, or you drink a lot of alcohol, or you drink, have a lot of hash, or you're only on beer. It's not what you're having really. It's the pattern of not being able to stop once you start. That is a hallmark. Like that is what we would look at, and say that would be addiction, or that would be signaling, a stage of abuse which will need treatment, which will need help, right? But in the earlier stages, people may have, so there are different kinds of drugs. In alcohol, you have a variety. So it can be something as simple as toddy. It can be, beer. It could be gin, wine, vodka, you name it. I mean, all of them have some alcoholic content. And anything that alters the mind or the mood would be in this category of substances which can do that, right? So now, in fact, there is a DSM-5 newer thing where we are, being asked to also look at coffee and say whether people who are addicted and who coffee could come under that, because even coffee has, people experience anxiety, they get restlessness if they've not had. So it's not really what you have, it's what it produces in you, because of which you need to keep going and having that alcohol or that beer or that, substance.
When it moves from being a habit to an addiction, we need to first understand that, is what you're
There
saying.
are different stages there, Swapnika. So
Tell us about it. Yeah.
the different stages is when we see the first stage is just experimental, right? And social.
Okay.
So, which is like how you and I and all of us have been exposed. We go to college, or we are in 9th or 10th. Now we are seeing a younger age. So I've seen kids as young as 12 and 13 also being, introduced to alcohol, which is beer. And initially it starts with this whole fascination of non-alcoholic beverages, right? So there's this non-alcoholic beer, but many kids kind of move to this beer at 12, 13. I'm seeing that in my practice, in our work. Many of us who are working in this field are seeing it. So it could be something, as simple as experimenting with that. And you're not having it. So how we know, the beginning phases, it's like you're having it at parties, you're having it on New Year's. Somebody tells you, come here, have a drink, you'll feel better. You're just having it occasionally. Maybe in a year, you're having it 3-4 times. That's experimental and social. You're having it with friends. So one of the things is sometimes families are introducing and saying, oh, I don't want my child to have it outside. So sometimes the family is actually the first space where many of these kids, like when we've done workshops with children in schools, many of the kids have come and said, but my father has told me it's okay to drink, right? So you actually given the message it's okay to drink at home, but the child has only got the message it's okay to drink.
True.
Not the home thing is just till they are 16 because they don't have access and money and availability. So that's how it starts initially. And then as you grow older, you go to college, you have more access, you have more freedom, you have more mobility, right? You move to, you're traveling, you're with friends, you might go off to a hostel. So the more and more introduction is, that stage, you could stay at social stage, people experiment. They still try different kinds of alcohol. The newer generation now, people do try hash. It's like I see a lot more cases with hash now than people drinking, because hash, weed, marijuana, that's not, it's not visible on your breath, right? You have to really be trained.
Hash, weed, marijuana are the same things.
Same, yeah. Marijuana, some people call it, there are different parts of the plant. And many people like to say because it's natural, it's okay. There are a lot of these arguments. It's legalized in other countries, so it's okay. But you may not stay there, right? You might move to the next stage, which is the abuse, where you're doing it more often, then you're doing it alone. You don't need people. You'll do it on weekends by yourself with a few group of friends. So it is how the progression can happen in any way for people. Like we say, it's a democratic disease. We don't know how it progresses. You and I could start drinking together and I could become an addict because of other risk factors that I have in my life, and you wouldn't. And you would stay with that same one peg till you're 90. There is no way to determine who will and who will not. But all of us have the capacity, right? So the boundary or the tipping point for everybody is there. It's just that if at that point you have a lot of stressors, you have a lot of things, you may also tip over, right?
So you can't extrapolate that as a parent, if I do, my child will not.
Yeah. Or you can't say that because I don't drink and I have never done any substances, my child will not.
Will not.
But of course, you're bringing in another factor, Swapnalika, which is the family also influences. So it's something called as modeling, right? So if the parent is drinking and it's okay to drink and they see the parent cope, because it's a coping mechanism, right? Substance use. Some people use it to relax. Some people say, oh, I want to wind down after a heavy day. I just need to chill. So they are actually role modeling how to chill. You're role modeling how to relax.
Yeah. So you're suggesting that this is a okay method to cope with your fatigue?
No, I'm not suggesting.
No. I'm saying parents, if they do it, you're actually communicating that it's okay to cope with your stressors like this.
Yeah, you're giving that permission. And so what happens is that you're also seeing that, right? See, we also role model or don't role model our parents, but it's always an opposition or an exact likeness
to
how our parents are, right?
True.
So some kids because I worked a large number of years in a de-addiction setup, we saw a lot of kids who never did pick up alcohol because they saw so much of problems due to substance use in their house. And there were some people, I mean, research shows 44% of people who actually see you in a treatment center have a parent who has had an alcohol or a drug using history. Right?
So again, as you said, it's a democratic space.
Yeah, but
you don't know.
Family thing increases the risk by 44%. Genetic risk is 7 times more likely than a regular population who doesn't have a parent who drinks. So it's like if I have a parent who has an alcohol problem, I'm more likely to pick up another substance also, not necessarily alcohol. And I may get addicted because of the genetic makeup. It's also a genetic transmission like diabetes. Yeah, like diabetes and other illnesses. So most people don't know that. And that is one of the things I like to, share in my talk, because most people feel it's,
it's a social habit.
Yeah, it's a habit. But it's a medical disease. It's a brain disorder. It's seen as a brain disorder now because of the way drugs impact our brain, and they alter the neural pathways, which is why people, even though you want to give it up, you keep going back because those neural pathways which have got altered, you need to keep having that to maintain that level of high or feeling good.
Got it. Got that. So what you're saying, there are 2-3 very important things that you said. I think that as parents, our children either are rebellious and they'll do opposite of exactly what you're doing, or they will copy what you're doing. So as a parent, what's the way out?
No, so I'm a parent myself, and I have a 20-year-old. So I've seen how much of an temptation, that is for kids, because he moves with children who are also having alcohol, maybe having hash, and there is a lot of, so one of the things we say to parents is that you need to teach refusal skills, right? Refusal skills is, how do I say no when I don't want to do something? Because I can't tell my son, now you can't hang out with this guy because he's doing it. So that means, I think there'll be so many problems we as parents have with different kids from different homes, right?
True.
So we can't keep saying, okay, don't hang out with him because he has bad spending habits. Don't hang out with him because, he has a... So what we have to teach kids is, how do we teach self-efficacy? How do we teach them how to handle yourself? And how do you teach them that, you're in charge. So if you don't want to do something, nobody can really force you. That's refusal skills. And that's one of the important things which you teach when you don't have to teach it with substance use. That's the thing we think that, I have to teach them how to say no to alcohol. No. You just teach them initially how to say no. When you're giving them food and they say, no, I can't eat more than this, don't force them. You're teaching them confidence to say no. I don't like this particular outfit you're picking for me. Give them an option to choose what they want. Right? That's a decision-making skill you're teaching. See, substance use is not the use. It's a skill of decision-making, to say no to something that's unhealthy for me or that's harmful for me. So I would look at it from that particular area, that as parents, that's what you can do. Of course, at home, it's your choice. You could also, so we all have like shadows, or we have things which are not okay about ourselves. So we have actually to own it up. So if, even if I'm drinking, I can say I made an unhealthy choice and I don't think that's a good choice, but you don't have to make the same choice. You don't need to drink or smoke or do what I did. Because for me now, I'm trying to give it up and it's harder. So I wish I hadn't started. It's like a parent saying, okay, I have anger issues, So I also get upset. There's nothing wrong in being vulnerable, right? To share with your children that vulnerability.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, no, I don't have this problem, or I think it's a good thing. Let's, there's
rationalize
no harm.
it. Yeah. Oh. That's a nice one. So you're saying best thing is don't have bad habits, but if you do, please own up and admit that you made a wrong choice. Try to actually show that you're trying to get out of it, and honestly try, rather than rationalize and say it's okay because I can stop after a drink, and ideally you also should, because you never know which way the child goes once he picks up the drink or whatever it might be. Okay. So
exactly, because we don't know, Yeah, so one of the protective factors when people don't do substance use is parental monitoring. So, I have parents who tell me, but my son gets very irritated when I'm constantly checking where he is. Still, do it. Even if he gets upset, do it. Insist on knowing who the friends are. That's the second risk factor is having a peer group which is substance using or is having high risk behavior, like they're indulging in activities which you as a parent know it intuitively, you're uncomfortable. See, typically this is, earlier we used to say like we'll deal with this when children are in college. Now we can't wait to deal in college. We have to deal it when they are in 6th, 7th. I have kids as young as 5th and 6th who know about what is alcohol because of media, because they're so exposed. They're seeing it all the time, right? So what we as parents can do is we monitor who the friends are in terms of, the kind of group. For people who have a substance use issue, one of the signs, warning signs to know if a child is a moving group of friends, a revolving group. Like you never know who the child is hanging out every week with.
Oh,
right. Because he doesn't need friends. He needs to do the alcohol or the drug. So he goes with whoever, or he's hanging out with different groups. Are you getting what I'm trying to?
I'm getting it. So you don't have steady friends with whom you're hanging. You just need to hang out because you want to do something. Koi bhi mil jaye, chalega.
Yeah, also because I'm having a difficulty getting along with people, no? Because I'm getting upset when I'm drinking. I may get into fights. When I'm doing substance use, I may get into behaviors which are the high risk. I would look at it that, for the parent, if there is monitoring, then this is something that you could pick.
Okay.
Yeah.
One is this, right? Got it. But when the very small children tell me, doctor, they're going to school. I mean, they don't hang out with anyone. They just go to school and come back. So, or is it different? Has it become different?
But school is a space, right? Which is,
yeah, it is. It is.
There is also a lot of bullying, a lot of behavioral. So like when we are seeing kids as 7th, 8th, 9th, see, there's a lot of hormonal changes happening. There's a lot of identity issues. One of the ways for a lot of people to assert identity is to show their adulting is to drink. Or to say, oh, I can have this. I can do this.
Oh.
Right? So they're not doing it maybe. So when parents travel, parents home. So these are a lot of things of being able to understand and build the relationship with the child. You can't keep plugging in all the holes, right? You'd have to just plug in your relationship with the child so that you know that when your child is saying, I'm here, you can trust. And that comes only from a certain way of parenting. So we are not saying parental control, we are saying parental monitoring. There's a difference. Parental control is like, I had this girl in therapy a few years back, and her father would be like, no, you're not going to buy this. No, I won't let you do this. So, there was so much frustration that by the time she's in the 8th standard, she's so frustrated because she's not able to keep up with anything her peers are doing. And that's also important, right? To be able to wear that torn jeans and to be able to do some of that, because that's asserting identity. She can't do any of that. So there's so much control. And that doesn't mean that she didn't do drugs. In fact, she did it because she got so stressed that there was nothing else he let her do. So she didn't know how to relax, because every time she was at home, she'd pick something and he'd tell her, this costs so much, so use it carefully. That's a father. And this girl is about 13 or 14 and they've moved to a new house. So I'm giving different kinds of example. And then, so she was like, I'm so frustrated. If I'm at home, I have to be so controlled. And he would keep reminding her, even in the therapy sessions, of how much the house cost. I mean, she didn't ask for it. He would keep reminding her in the parental work that we were doing that, she couldn't do this, she couldn't do that. So it took a lot of work for him to recognize that because of the excessive control, that's not monitoring, that's control.
So control would mean not let the child take his or her own decision.
At all.
At all. And monitoring is you let the child take a decision, but you know what the decision is.
Yeah. And monitoring is just, it's like kind of keeping a tab. Okay, you're in this safe space. You're doing fine. Things are okay. There's no problem. Do you need me there? Do you need me to resolve anything? Do you need me to, help you do something? So that is also allowing the child to take the decision,
Hmm.
and yet being there if it's a wrong decision, not berating the child. See, because the younger decisions, when they're taking it at a younger age, it's easier for those decisions for them to, like make a mistake and acknowledge and say, okay, I think maybe even you said what you said was okay. Then, then doing it at 18 or 20, you can't start that parenting part at 20. Substance use also, if you really ask, it starts at 2 and 3, where you're talking about saying no, where you're talking about saying no to good touch, bad touch. So all of these are decision making and refusal skills which you're teaching from a young age, so that by the time the child is 13, 14, they know this doesn't fit with my value system. No?
So this could apply to any kind of addiction.
Any kind of,
Like binging TV shows on Netflix is also an addiction that these days.
Yeah, so newer age addiction with the younger lot is mobile addiction, especially after COVID. We have really young kids because everything was online. So they have also learned to handle a phone at a younger age than, probably we would. Of course, for us, we did it much older, but I mean, the last generation or so, I have somebody who told me their 6-year-old is on the phone all the time and they don't know how, because it's activating the neural pathways, you see. So once they get activated, they want to be on it because you want that constant thing. So it's basically...
What is the way out? Because we also have parents who would say we are working. I mean, we can't continue to engage with the child and do something other than the phone to keep the child engaged, and the child refuses to do anything else. What do you suggest then? People
so at that time, when if the parent is with the child, see, it's not like you have to be with the child 24/7. I'm not saying that, because we're all working parents, right? I've been a working parent also. So it's not that. It's creating an environment at home where you are monitoring the screen time. So it's like only this time, and the phone goes in, and it starts young, because when by the time they're 12, 13, they want to do it their way. So if you're going to have the battle, then you will feel frustrated and they feel angry. You have to have the rule and the boundary before, the pre-tween.
Earlier the better.
Yeah. So like, that this is not okay, because then I'm also saying that I'm not going to be on my phone. And on weekends, I'm also not going to only watch TV, right? So I'm going to do a physical activity, or I'm going to do gardening, I'm going to walk, I'm going to cook, I'm going to bake with my child. So there are many things which you can do without having the TV.
You have to make that extra effort out, actually.
Yeah.
There's no getting away.
Actually, a lot of the input goes till 14. After 14, whatever input you've done is what you're seeing. But many times what we do is we're reining in at 14 and saying, oh, this is not how it should be. Right? So sometimes I tell parents, spend more time when they're younger, because they're also more available to listen to you. They think you are the world. By the time they're 13, 14, peers is their God. So whatever friends do, it's important.
What is the best time to approach this conversation, or is it even required, or just your conduct in life does it for you?
No, you need to talk about certain things is important. Substance use is very, very important.
So tell us about that. If we take like what age, and just tell us as a parent, what is the best way to talk about it?
So you just, when you see it on television, you can say, oh, see this guy. I mean, what do you think? Do you think he has a drinking problem? Don't need to talk about somebody in the family. Just see on TV. I mean, every show they're having somebody smoke up and drink.
Okay.
Right? And we don't need to create fear. See, because why we say we don't create fear is because if you're going to make it scary for the child may not do it now. But at later point, they want to get over that. Like they want to experience the thrill of doing something which is scary. So you can make it seem that, okay, this is an illness. Like, see, we have diabetes. I would say, look at diabetes. Diabetes is not something that is bad, right? Anybody can get it. If you have a certain predisposition, you're not eating the right food and you're not exercising, right? So the way we explain any disease, we explain that, okay, if somebody is drinking a lot and they cannot control, right? See, the hallmark of addiction is that you're not having control. You may say, I'll drink one, but you can't stop. That not stopping is the hallmark. Yeah. So when people, So you can say that, and there may be times when you are, but that's maybe an unhealthy way of coping. And because now research shows it's a brain disorder. And actually, if you go on any Google site and see what is the impact on the brain, parents don't even need to tell, they can show it to the child. There are games, there are interactive games on different websites like Nida and others, where you can actually, I'm not able to recollect the exact the ones, but you can see how the brain changes when you're on substance use, and how that impact happens, and how it affects decision making. And why? Because it suppresses certain parts of your brain, which is why when people drink alcohol, they'll dance, they'll do things which they normally don't do, because the social inhibition is gone, right? Because the pituitary gland gets depressed.
So what I think when I asked you how should they approach it, I almost thought that one should do it like a history lesson once upon a time. But you made it very easy. You said that take up any context from your life, which could be a simple thing as a TV show, and talk about it and make it sound like the person is actually ill and has got into this because he started it and he's been silly to start doing it. And who wants to be silly like that? Rather than saying that
so that person, for younger kids, for older kids, it's important to say that it's a poor decision making. It reflects poor decision making. It reflects poor refusal skills, and you teach it, and you're teaching that every day, right?
Right.
It's like, what time will you get up for school? And the child says, I won't get up at 7. So you're saying, okay, you're making a decision not to get up at 7. So you might miss the bus. Then how will you go? So actually, you're teaching it at every point. It's just that you don't probably teach it actively in substance use, because you think it's not something where you've connected. Now, when our talk, you will connect it. And the more you keep connecting it, it's like, will you have dal rice for lunch or will you have bindi roti? You're giving a decision choice, right? So you don't. So what I say is, put it into your everyday life. Don't make it like a lecture. Right? Because then they say, take a chill pill. I know everything. You don't need to tell me. My friends have told me everything.
Yeah.
So this is between 13, 15, 18, right? Generally, by the time kids are out of school and college, they're not very receptive to our ideas because we are outdated. So actually, the period to catch is earlier, 10, 11, 12. And now because of, changes in physical health also with girls and with boys, 9 to 11.
They're all hitting the tweens much earlier than what they did earlier.
Yeah, 9. So that time. Right?
Got that. I got. I mean, so you've made it like on an everyday basis as a part of parenting, you're continuously giving them skills to cope with something like this in their life.
Correct.
So this is not about this specific thing. It is about generally coping with life and making right choices and wrong choices. And you have to keep on doing that. So now I have a question, like if I look at the normal social milieu now, parents socially drink. People come over to the house and a drink is offered. And so if a child is 18 and a child says, I'd like to have a drink, what would you suggest that a parent do? Should not?
So see, when we look at how substance use, the evolution, or, how people do, there are some people, like I told you earlier, they may never develop that problem, right?
Okay.
So if you don't have a family history, you don't have people who've had a family history and you are comfortable. See, because it's not about drinking, it's about the value system that you're also having, right? Now,
communicating.
I may have a value system where I'm very okay with people drinking, but I'm not okay to drink and I'm not okay about drinking. So then I just bring that value system into my life, right? It's like any other value system. So I would not say being 18 and the only reason I would say, so one is of course the social values that you hold and if you are comfortable, because I know of people who said, oh, but it's so natural because I am in a culture where it's very common to offer alcohol or, things like that. But why we would look at it from a mental health or a, medical perspective is that adolescent brains really develop at a rapid rate, right?
Okay.
So what happens is that if you have an early onset of substance use or early onset of somebody who has been drinking, you have that much of a longer lifespan. So if you experimented for the first time at home at 18, you still have till 45, and that's a long period to, get into, and you are going to experience life stressors, you're going to experience a lot of downers. You may use that as a coping mechanism. So because the brain is developing at that point, see, till 25, the full brain develops, the full frontal, which is actually responsible for the decision making.
Oh, till 25.
Yeah, the frontal. So when we do work with parenting, that's what we are saying. That actually, that is why, sometimes we do things and we have people who say, oh, I took the wrong career. I shouldn't have done this. I took the wrong course. I wish I hadn't gone in this. Oh, I have this wrong partner. I fell in love so young. I wish I hadn't been with this person. I'd have done. So because the entire brain, the full brain, 25 is when this prefrontal thing. So actually till then, one of your roles in parenting is also to protect the child. That's a primary role why you are parenting, right? So if, you knew bungee jumping is dangerous, and there is something that has happened, you won't let your child go there, no matter how exciting. That's something like that. That's a decision as a parent. I don't say do it, don't do it. I say medically, because the brain is growing, the changes, if there is an impact, there's a rapid kind of impact at that age between, the hormonal changes between, say, 13 and 19, 13 and 21, right? But even longer. So the later, see, we can't help not to do. I mean, though I sometimes feel comfortable saying that don't do it because I don't do it. It's easier for parents who have that.
I hear you.
But for parents who don't, you say that, okay, let's think about it when you're out of college, or, you can do it on your own money, or you can do it when you start working, or you can do it when so you give them a goal, right? So you're actually just delaying it.
Yeah.
So, if you cannot make them do abstinence at that age, at least you can delay it.
That's a wonderful one, actually. Abstinence might be it might have negative reactions, but delaying works.
Yeah. Because at some point, people might experiment. So if you keep saying, oh, it's bad, it's not like people won't do it. Right? So what you bring in is that, not now, maybe later, let's look. It's like you wouldn't let a 13-year-old drive a car, right?
True.
You wouldn't let your 14-year-old have sex. So, you have to look at it from that. These are all adult decisions.
True.
So they need to do it when they know that they're ready to deal with the consequences of that decision.
Right. That's a very, very important one. Even I didn't know about this. You're saying till about 25, your intellectual faculties are still developing.
Yeah, the forebrain is developing. So
so that means
comes at 25. That's the research as of now, but research does change, and
Yeah. No, that puts an onus in the parents' hands to be around and be there to protect for a longer period of time than
not physically around, but
I mean, just be there.
Psychological holding is what we say,
it's
right?
Very, very important.
Because we have kids who are going away far to study, to pursue courses. They just need to know you're there. And even if they're in a mess, you're going to be there to get them out of the mess.
True.
Right? That's all that they need to know, because from 14 onwards, they can do everything that you and I can do. Physically, they know, you can teach them to look after themselves, and they can do all of that. They just need somebody, because adulting is very hard. And what I'm seeing a lot of 18, 20, 21-year-olds who are away, who are studying on their own. So loneliness also becomes one of the triggers, right? Like I was working with one of the girls. She's trying to get a job. The market is really bad. She's 20. She's just graduated. So there's so much of sadness and there's so much of loneliness because she's in another country trying to get a job. So it's also hard to be an adult today than it was 20 years back, you see. So we have to also acknowledge that they're going through a different phase. Like, we didn't have so much of media. We didn't have so much of competition. We didn't have Instagram. Look, I got a superb internship. My child got in a superb college. So there's so much of that also, which puts so much of peer pressure on kids today.
So you covered quite a few pressures, which probably as parents, we don't understand that our kids are going through, because we come from a time when these pressures were not. So you spoke about some, which is social media, you spoke about that. you're always looking at the good things which are happening in other people's
Correct.
lives, which are continuously happening. That puts a pressure. Any others which you think that we wouldn't know, the children are going through? You meet them, you talk to them, and you know what's going on in the children's minds these days.
I think this is, I mean, the whole adapting to. So if you really look even 20 years back, in our 20s, we've all gone through a low phase because we don't know whether we did the right job, whether we did the right course, where will we land, will we make money, will we be, sustainable. That's for, so that is what many kids will go through even today. It's just more heightened because, there's more awareness, they're more well-read, they can access things on, just one Google click and they can get that information. For younger kids, it's again like, almost everybody is getting like a very high percentage. So the kids who are average performing, which is why I said, if we have this concept of self-efficacy, it's okay. I may have got 60, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to be able to do what I need to do. So I think that building the self-esteem.
Yeah, can I request you, because self-efficacy is probably everybody wouldn't understand. Tell us what is self-efficacy and what can parents do to drive that? Because I think that's very important for children to cope with things like substance abuse going around them, or, peer pressure of Instagrammers, fellow Instagrammers. Yeah. What is self-efficacy?
So it's that ability which we say, in terms of my belief in myself. Okay. And my belief in who I am, right? And that should not be shaken up because my friend got into a beautiful program and I didn't. Or my, if I'm a 12-year-old and my friend's getting better marks and I'm not, right? So what we're saying is that who I am, the core of who I am, my being is very valuable to my family, right? It's not my doing.
Conditional. Not because if I don't get good marks, everybody loves me at home, but if I don't get good marks, everybody's sulking.
Yeah. Okay. Or if I'm a good boy, like I'm obeying and I'm doing, then only I'm loved. Because children go through identity formation, right? One of the things in identity is to rebel and to say, no, I want to do it like that. If you like red, but I like blue. As long as it's not harmful, we can let kids select, right? We can let them take what they want and how they want to do. So I think self-efficacy is saying that you're really good the way you are. And we love you for who you are. See, today, kids also, the other thing that they really have is body image issues, right? Am I good looking? Am I not good looking? Am I too fat? Like with women, I'm seeing it with boys also, a lot of body image, like I'm too overweight. Because the whole time it's about Instagram and how I'm going to post and whether I'm going to look good. Do I have like an adequate number of friends to hang out with? It's not about the quality of the relationship. See, the values is what I work with a lot more when I'm doing substance use work or any work in therapy. When we connect to core values, when we connect to what we really are in terms of, even as a family, it's easier for kids to cope with outside. Because outside is all about what you're doing, right? But if you're being like, I have this person who was saying, no, but I'm not good in this. And she's a very good singer. She's very good in whatever things she's doing. But the belief that I'm good is important. It's not about being good, right? It's not about singing at a 9 octave. I can sing at 4 and still think I'm like cat's whiskers. And that's the ability we develop with our kids.
I think parents have a very difficult job, especially in this generation where they're just one kid at home. You need to actually be real, but at the same time, make the child feel good for whatever they are. So, and it should not be a function of things which are marks and how you look and how many people approve of you, how obedient you are. So one of the things which probably parents should stop doing is comparing your child with someone. Look at so-and-so and this happened. I think that's very, very common. Or even looking at our own self, that at your age, I did this. I think these are things which actually drain a person. So what is important for the child is to feel really good about himself. And I think it is important to err on the side of being overconfident than underconfident.
Maybe, yeah. In that sense, overconfident, not bordering on unrealistic kind of.
Exactly. We have to be real, but at the same time, be sure about who I am and who I'm not. And that's so when it comes to small children, I still, because I live in New Bombay and work with I have had several occasions to work with the police department here for various things which happen. And apparently it's very high over here in this area. And parents are unaware that the children were into something. So if there are
Yeah.
small children, do you figure out in their school bags and see what they're
Yeah,
getting
so there are a
involved
lot of
in?
warning signs, and that was one of the things which,
Yes.
even when they are younger, see this kind of conduct disorder or these kind of, this is coming under that of how
Hmm.
do we recognize,
Hmm.
starts around 13, 14. One of the risk factors, so I had kind of put down, so lack of, supervision, very poor refusal skills, very aggressive behavior from the child, right?
Hmm.
All these are risk for the child to develop a substance use problem. Availability. Now, if I have to look at warning signs, one of it is aggressive behavior. The child is getting into a lot of fights. If I'm saying something, it's like you literally feel like you just said something very small, but the child has got into a fight with the father, got into a fight with the mother, got into a fight with neighbors, is not getting along with friends. It's not necessary they have to be fighting with you. So you have to observe. So that's a warning.
Okay.
Second is academics.
Okay.
The people who would be likely to be experimenting or in substance use, academic performance drops.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? You're not doing well at school. The teacher is calling. The tuition teacher is calling. Tuition pe hi nahi aaya. Kahan par hai? Truancy. Saying I'm going to school, but school pahuncha hi nahi. So those things to see. If they are studying, schoolwork is all incomplete. I'm saying rule out other issues also, but in substance use also, because he's not in class or not doing enough, mind is distracted, they maybe on substances, maybe using sometimes. So like from what I understand and what I've been working with addiction in different, sometimes kids are going, before they go to school, they're leaving, but they're having that, may not go to school. So in between also, where is the child, how long is the child taking? That's why I said parental monitoring. Third is a lot of complaints from maybe society, school, other places, right? Spending too much time in the bathroom, because that's where I'm doing the substance. Because if the house is smaller, there are lots of people, I can't do it. But even if the house is bigger, I may close up my room and keep it closed for like long hours. See, that's also an adolescent feature, because they like privacy. So you have to really look at it in the entirety, and not that,
Aren't any easy ones. Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
Then is red eyes.
Okay.
Right, the next day, or or the child stays out too late, coming home at unearthly hours, and like I told you, changing group of friends. Friends who are like, oh, I'm going to this, but who is this? Oh, I met him at a party, and so now we're friends. So the group may keep changing. So that is one of the other signs. Right? There are multiple, actually, if you ask, there are multiple indicators kids give, but checking their bag, we've had parents who've done that, but it's by the time they come into their 20s that the parents will do that. So even when they're younger, sitting, you may not get the time to do work with the child every day, right? So what you focus is on the relationship, right? You can call from work for 10 minutes, even if you're at work. You're back. Did you eat a snack? Kya khaya? What did you do? Just 10 minutes. Okay, what are you going to do now? Where are you going? And sometimes just your voice is enough to prevent them from actually getting into some kind of mischief if they were thinking. So that also helps. But these are some of the signs.
And
right?
suppose
things missing from the house. But this is like I'm saying when it goes to addiction.
Yeah.
Right? So we've had parents who, so we had this girl who would, flip, kind of pick mobile phones of people when she went to the bar, right? And she would keep losing her phone. She's not losing it, she's selling it to buy the alcohol or the drug. But for the parent, they must be thinking, really, she must have dropped it in the rickshaw, must something. So it's not like it happens so often, because you sell a phone, and if it's an expensive phone, it can last you like a good amount of time, right?
Yeah.
So that could be, so, these are very subtle ways if to really check if the child is having any substance use issues, right?
So one, you said warning signs we understand, and nothing is linear. You can't make like quick deductions that if this is this, this is it. So, like suppose now I'm now wary. I think something's wrong and I can't get it. Now what do I do as a parent? When I've talked to the child and it seems okay, but still I'm like, I don't know, it's not right. So one speak to the school teacher or school counselor. What should one do?
So if you feel that there is considering there is an issue, I think first thing is to sit the child down and be honest and say that I think there is a problem here. Something is not okay. Is there anything you want to tell me? Is there anything you want to share? Because many times it's not the child sometimes is doing it. We've seen that where they want maybe there is some parental issue going on. Parents are having lots of conflicts. There's lots of fights. So we also need to look within us whether we have given any stressors in the environment to the child. And he's like, we typically, because I've worked at court, we've seen, when parents are undergoing a divorce or a separation and there are lots of fights. See, the divorce and the separation is a physical process. The fights begin much before the parent moves out, and children can't cope with the stress. So then children end up being outside the house for longer periods and therefore being exposed to people who may be unhealthy for them, right? So, sitting down and checking in really whether we are having something which we can shift about ourselves, and then sitting with the child and saying that it's not okay. But you need see, sometimes even a hunch, when the parent has that hunch, it can be, an important hunch. So go on that. Yeah. You see, again, it's a relationship about trust, right? But when you go to a doctor, they can just ask you to do a blood test. If there is any drug use, it'll be showing in your blood test. It can show in your urine also. So sometimes even doing that. But what I find is that leads to a lot of anger, fighting, aggression. Right? So it's actually preventive. And then if it's not happening, address it and say, we're going to do this. But then being firm. See the difference when we're looking at parenting in terms of people who come from homes where they may not do as much of substances. Authoritarian and authoritative. Different styles, right? Authoritarian is, I say this and it happens. If I say aaj ye khana ban raha hai, to wohi ban raha hai, then nobody else has an option. Authoritative is negotiative and it's firm. Okay, I'm saying this and maybe we need to have this because this is healthy for us. It's not acknowledging the child's need or not acknowledging. It's not like my way or the highway. Authoritarian is, it's my way or the highway. Right?
It's not the best thing to do. So what you're saying is negotiate, but once you've negotiated, then you become firm about it.
Yeah. And the other aspect in parenting, there are parents who are very permissive. They don't know what their kids are doing. They don't know where they are. They are very okay. They trust the child a lot. They're very sweet.
Bad idea.
But they trust the child more than the child for his age. It is appropriate. So if the child is saying, Mama, I'm here. Okay. I trust. No, still check.
Yeah.
Because sometimes over permissive. I want so much money. So the other way really to know one of the warning is excessive expenditure. Like if the child keeps asking, like we had this child who was outside India and he kept telling the parent, oh, put this much money in my account. I've run out of this. Put this much money. And the parent kept putting it because he trusted the child. But the child was actually using substances, which is why the child kept asking. So by the time he got expelled and had to come back and he lost a year at that university, it was quite late because he was doing harder drugs, right? So it's also not only giving money, it's also accounting and knowing that, the child is using the money in the right way. Because you need money to buy substances. So if you're going to monitor that, you're anyway monitoring the... Yeah, I'm going between preventive and I'm going...
Yeah. But what you say is true because we see many of parents who are very permissive now. I see it with my own generation also, where trust is like... high beyond reasonable limits. I mean, trust is important. I think that is very important, but there has to be some amount of reasonability in it.
Correct.
And I think it is a shortcut to, it's like, giving up your responsibilities of parenting in a very, holier than thou way, that I'm very trusting of my child. I think all of us who are there, I think the important question is to ask ourselves rather than looking at the child or doing anything. The important questions are, we have to ask ourselves whether you spoke about modeling the right habits. And I really like that bit when you said that if you have bad habits, you try to get out of it, or you acknowledge and own up and say that these aren't good, rather than rationalizing and saying that I'm a strong person and, I never go beyond a couple of drinks. Because the child, as you said, we don't know whether the same two kids in the same house can respond differently to it. One might become an addict and the other might just sail through without being one. So it's being foolhardy to think that since I'm responsible, the child will also be responsible.
Correct.
And you spoke a lot about, I think, refusal skills, decision-making skills, and you spoke about self-efficacy. And I think they are a part of general parenting and has nothing probably to do with but that's the core crux of building the character for the child, for him or her to take the right decisions. So I think there are lots of questions, at least I speak for myself and maybe on behalf of many other people, that these are questions which keep on coming in your mind and you don't know how to deal with them.
No, and there's a lot of stigma, Swapnalika. So people don't want to talk, but 1 in 4 homes have seen some kind of mental health concern, not only substance use, worldwide statistical figures.
Oh yes.
So the moment we start saying it, it feels comfortable to then share and ask for help. But till we don't acknowledge, we may not be able to, share or even tell somebody. Then how does anybody help you also?
Yeah. So I think all of us, those who are on the call, should also make it our business to tell others too, because this is something that doesn't get discussed, and which is why we picked it up, saying that let's at least talk about it. And like I'm telling you honestly, the question that I asked you, how do you talk to children about it? I really thought that it's like one, difficult subject. How do I put the, introduction body and, how you talk about an essay?
Yeah. No, and you don't even need to know about substance. We don't really talk about decision making because it's something so simple like what we spoke.
And we can contextualize this bit to whatever the age of the child is. If it's a child, it's different. If it's an adolescent, it's different. If it's an adult, it is different then.
Yeah.
So I think there are lots of questions which got answered. So thank you so much for coming over.
Thank you. And I think that was interactive. And I think I also, when we were doing this, I had prepared some of the stuff which I really wanted. I think most of what we
Is there anything that's left? Then take this last 2 minutes to do that.
That's okay. I think we've covered some of the important parts because we've looked at it from a parenting perspective. It's my doctoral thesis, so I can talk about it for hours. Like I was telling everybody, that I can keep talking. So there's so many areas that we can talk about, but we focused on this, and I think this is.
We keep on having our Guru.
But you can write to me, even post the session. If people have questions, they can write to you. You can send it.
We'll communicate your email ID. Yeah, we would do that.
Because we didn't have, I was also hoping some of us may come up with our own questions also. But no issues. Sometimes it's difficult to think about it in that moment, and then you go out and
later on
I could have asked about this.
We would probably put a summary of this entire thing and put it up as a blog post also, and we'll send the links out. We'll publish it on YouTube because I think it's a part of the work that we do to spread the, I shouldn't say spread the word, to destigmatize talking about these things because it's so important for us. So thank you so much. And is anybody here would want to ask any question or has a comment, a short one, then please feel free to unmute yourself, switch your cameras on and talk about it. Apparently not. So everybody's happy.
I think that's one of the fallouts of online sessions.
Yes, that's true. That's true. That there were about 30 plus people. I'm very happy and surprised. These 30 people will go and speak to their husbands and wives, and then they will talk to us. At least 100, 200 people will come to know of it. And I feel happy with that footprint. Thank you so much. And we look forward to probably having you over for some other. Today we spoke about substance abuse, but there are so many other things.
Yes.
Oh, so there are lots of people saying it's a really very good session. Thank you so much. Good.
Yeah, thank you. I think I also, for me also, it's nice to not only do counseling and to also share more of my experiences. It was a good experience.
Yes, it's because those people would come to you, the ones who really need active help.
Correct.
But why not work with a larger number of people so that they don't get to that state where it becomes, it's so much of unhappiness there. So that's the whole idea for us. Great. Thank you so much.
You.
And we'll see you sometime again too.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.